Hello and welcome to another video on the Grimwood Watch Modern channel, and today I am going to finally conclude my very small series which was the Swiss Watch Challenge. Now if you haven't seen the first part of this series, please just click up in the top right there, I will put the link up, but just to quickly recap, I picked up this Victoronix Swiss Army Divemaster 500 for around £160, give or take a couple of quid, which I thought for a watch that originally cost over £1,000 was a steal. It had a bit of an issue though, the dial was freely rotating, but I did fall in love with the fact it had a ETA 2892 movement ticking in the back, and I thought for 160 quid it was worth the punt to try and fix it. So in the last video you saw my initial conclusions, what I thought, and also put it on the timing graph and saw the movement wasn't too, well, it was in need of a service basically, but I said I wasn't going to service it, but I was going to fix the dial. So in this video I'm going to show you me fixing the dial. I'm also going to show you the strap that I put it on and give my very final conclusions on this watch. And here we are on my workbench, and here is the watch. So between me moving from the time graph over here, I have loosened the case back off. It was on quite tight, so I didn't want to kind of put you all through that. I've also removed the strap because this is getting binned anyway. I'll take that buckle off, but other than that, the rest of it's just getting binned. One nice little feature that I did find was these lugs actually have two positions for the spring bars, so I'm guessing one was for the rubber strap and the other one's actually for the bracelet that you could get on these watches, but I'm guessing if you had a NATO strap or a rubber strap you could actually wear it on both, and it would be interesting to see how it wears in both positions, but hey ho. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the case back off, I'm going to remove the movement, and then I'm going to refixate the dial onto the movement itself. I'm not going to fix the dial feet, I'm going to leave them in situ, and I'm going to do another method to actually attach the dial back on. So if you give us a minute, I shall take the case back off, get this movement out, and I'll run through what I'm going to do. And here we are, I've got the dial out and obviously the movement attached to the dial. I've put the crown back in just as a bit of a reference there for the 3 o'clock position, and the way I'm going to actually be reattaching the dial to the actual movement holder is with one of these M3 double-sided pads. Now these come with bezel inserts for modifications, and when you actually put the bezel insert in you use the outer ring that's cut out of these, and this centre bit's basically just scrap in all honesty, so I actually keep them, and they're very good for actually sticking dials back onto movement holders. So I'm going to cut a little bit off and then going to slide it under here, so I'm not actually going to remove the hands at all. I'm just going to lift the dial up slightly, stick a bit of this pad in, and then put it back down and try and fixate it. So without any further ado, let's crack on. And here we are 15 minutes later, and I've done. It was quite an easy fix. So along with the M3 tape which I've got at the 4 o'clock and the 11 o'clock position, I've also put some semi-flexible cement in between the dial and the movement holder. Now I do that just as a bit more of a reassurance than anything else, because the tape is more than capable of holding the dial down, but you know, belt and braces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that cement set off a bit, and then I shall crack on and put this movement back in the case. And there we have it, one fixed Swiss Army Divemaster 500, and you know what? It was one of the easiest fixes I've done on a watch in a fair while. Personally, like I say, if I was going to be doing somebody else's watch and I was going to reattach the dial, I would be using dial dots, or I would actually be reattaching the dial feet. But for my own personal watch and trying to keep the cost down, the method I've used there is more than acceptable. So the next stage is going to be finding a very nice strap for it. So I'm going to go for the orange colour scheme, same as the original, to match the dial, and I'm going to also remove the buckle off the actual original strap just to keep that as part of the watch, but I shall get back to you in a second when I've actually got the strap I've chosen in hand. Moving on to my strap choice, well, originally I was going to go for this orange kind of Seiko inspired strap from Zulu Diver, but in all honesty I felt it did cheapen the watch a bit. It was lovely to wear, but it just kind of distracted from the overall look. So in the end I went for this black kind of canvas style strap with the bit more sophisticated butterfly release, and overall I think this strap just makes that dial pop absolutely lovely, as you can see there. And this is the focal point of this watch, that lovely orange starburst dial, and having the butterfly release on the back means you can just open it up and look at that lovely 2892 ETA movement ticking away in the back. So with all that out of the way, let's hoy it on my wrist and show you what it looks like. And here is the Swiss Army Divemaster 500 on my 6 3/4 inch wrist, and you know what, it wears very, very well. It is hefty, it is big, as you can see it does sit quite a way off the wrist. However, the strap I've chosen does make it wear awfully comfortable, and like I say, how can you not love that dial? It looks absolutely superb and doesn't look like it's an £160 worth of watch. So with the wrist shot out the way, let's move on to my final conclusions. So, my final thoughts on the Divemaster 500. Well, in all honesty, I am over the moon I managed to pick this watch up for 160 quid. Originally it would have been around about 1200. It's got an ETA 2892 in the back. Yes, the movement could do with a service, but it's not losing time too badly at this moment when it's fully charged, and the dial wasn't that hard to fix whatsoever. It only took around about half an hour, 45 minutes of my time to do so, and once together I have got a very rugged, very nice looking dive watch, which is Swiss made. So, in all honesty, have I won the Swiss watch challenge? Well, in my heart I have, but there was multiple people came to us and said, Kyle, you absolute numpty, you do know you can get a brand new Swiss made watch with an ETA movement in for less than you paid for this Divemaster. And I was like, what? And yes, I had a look and they were not telling porkies. You can buy a Swiss made watch for under £160. So in that kind of aspect, I have lost. I have lost very, very badly. And on the back of that, I have bought said watch and I'm waiting for it to come through the post. There's only a small sting in the tail, and the biggest reason why this watch is 160 quid, but I will leave that until it comes through the door for me to show you what that is. Anyway, what do you think? Do you think I've won the challenge? Would you have this Divemaster 500 on your wrist, or are you the people that are sitting there screaming at us going, no, you just have lost, you've picked up a second-hand watch when you could have bought a brand new Swiss made one for less than that? Please put in the comments below. As always, if you've liked this video, please subscribe, press that bell icon so you get notifications of videos that come up, and as always, keep safe and I shall see you soon.